Now, before I get started, let me just tell you the overall purpose of this presentation is not designed to offend. However, it is designed to expose and to perhaps explain a few things. And let's begin this way. I have been thinking about my high school chemistry class, and I recalled vaguely, but now I have confirmed what I was recalling, that electrons become excited with the presence of heat. Heat, that is, applied to electrons cause them to become excited. And I recall that those electrons begin to just bounce around in what we would consider very randomized patterns. And typically, what is very randomized, not being able to be predicted, we consider that chaos, basically. That's how we define very random movement that cannot be predicted. Chaos. So these electrons become chaotic in their movement with the presence of heat. Heating them changes their behavior to a state of chaos. And this chaos, this randomized behavior from these electrons, produce radiation. Now, for anybody who recalls physics, I'm just going to quickly read one line. And this comes from a source that I looked up online. And it tells us basically how these electrons produce radiation. This is from Physics Forum, www.physicsforums.com. Physics, Physics, forums, Forums, that's all one word, physicsforums.com. Electron orbitals, heat, excitation, and radiation. Heat can cause electrons to become excited, which leads to the emission of radiation when they return to their ground state. Stop. Heat can cause electrons to become excited, which leads to the emission of radiation when they return to their ground state. So heat applied to these electrons cause them to become excited, behaving very randomly. And this very random behavior is labeled chaos or chaotic. And the end result of this is the production of radiation. Radiation, as you know, also is cancer causing. Now, some of you might scratch your heads at that and say, now, wait a minute. We know that the medical profession uses radiation to treat cancer. Well, that's what we're told. But we also know that radiation exposure at certain levels or dosages for certain intervals of time, be they prolonged or short, are indeed cancer causing. If you don't believe me, check the NRC, www.nrc.gov. Look for the article Radiation Exposure and Cancer. If you don't like that one, you can go to, I want to give you one more, WebMD, www.webmd.com. Can you get cancer from radiation therapy? Can you get cancer from radiation therapy? How radiation therapy can cause cancer. And if you don't believe that, look up some of the research on radiation emission from cell phones and how that has been linked to cancer causation among living mammals, which we are considered mammals. Now, that's one piece that you can take and do something with. Let me give you something else that ties into what I just gave you, but it's more rooted in societal behavior, because what I really just gave you, though this may expose some scientific facts and some understanding that you might need, I'm using all that information as a metaphor for where I'm really going. Things in society right now are heating up. They are heating up interestingly and very, very quickly. And there is an excitability that's going on seemingly among people. And because things are heating up politically, financially, spiritually first and foremost, socially, the excitability that represents how people are responding to things heating up is creating what appears to be a sense of chaos. Behaviors of people are becoming more random. Predictability is not so clear. Yeah, we're seeing some patterns, but it's not so clear, because the same one that's your friend today can be your enemy today. And we're seeing so much of this that it's almost like a cancer spreading. It's cancer causing. And this cancer is being reflected in the banking system, to where not only are people struggling to sometimes access their money via the ATM machines, because ATM machines are down or out of money, but even going inside of the bank branch, the bank may say, you know what, we're out of cash, or from that, they have put a hold on people's accounts without explanation. Or from that, people might make deposits, and we're talking about people who have a long-standing history with a particular bank, and they make a deposit, and these deposits are being held for some unspecified period of time. And even if it is specified, it's so random how these holds are being placed on the release of this money that the bank customer just can't predict when the money will be available, because the bank is doing these type things. There's also the instance or the instances of where people's money is just outright getting stolen because someone is, hijacking their account somehow, by maybe duplicating their credit card, or the bank card, the debit card, whether you've used that card via tap or whether you actually inserted it into the machine and used a PIN, whether you've used it online, what have you. Even, hey, just walking down the street and you've got your bank cards in your pocket or in your backpack, ladies in your purse, what have you, and someone comes by with one of those readers somehow, and they're able to extract your information and wipe out your accounts. And upon figuring it out, you go to the banks, and the banks say, you know what, there's nothing we can do. We're not responsible. And you can call channel 13, channel 7, 9, 10, 12, 2, 3, whatever, and try to get assistance via the media. Sometimes it may work, sometimes it may not. But the bottom line is that there are no assurances. And we already see what's happening with insurances. So we have this sense of randomized behavior because things are heating up and we're not able to predict what's going on, and it seems to be cancer causing. So much so that even in the job market, you have a job this moment, the next moment everybody's told to leave, and that's it. No explanation, no severance package. That's just it. And in some cases, people may not even receive their final pay. Not because they waived receipt of that payment. Nah, people want their money, but it's because the company just outright is not paying them. And there's no law enforcement agent or agencies to enforce this company to pay. You can try to sue the company, but if the company doesn't have the money, or if they have the right attorneys, or if they're tied to the right people, you still may never get that money. That case could be held up in court for 20, 30 years, and no one ever receives any type of compensation. So basically, you're just, as we used to say, you just A out, and you know what the A stands for. This is part of the cancer that's in society right now. People can just walk up on you and end your life via any type of weapon or chokehold or knee on the neck or whatever. And these same individuals can walk freely, even if all the laws, all the policies, all the regulations really point to these individuals being at fault because they wear the right uniform, or they wear the right title, or they have a particular last name, or let's just say it, they have a certain level of pigmentation or even lack of pigmentation, a level of lack of pigmentation. They may just simply walk without ever being charged with the crime of murder. Because the cancer is steadily spreading. Let's bring it on home a little bit closer. Even for those who are considered people of color. America and many other countries use the term black. Even crime among quote-unquote blacks oftentimes are not dealt with quite the same. This is still cancer. Because as long as that black is unaliving another black, the issue may not be so bad. That is, unless you're a black male, then you might be made an example of. You need to be in jail. You need to be under the jail. You need to be in a grave. You need to disappear. But that black female might get a lighter sentence, or if any sentence at all is given, she just may walk, But the bottom line is this. If that black male or that black female were to unalive someone of little to no melanation, the probability of that quote-unquote black individual either having to serve time for murder, or from that having to deal with some unseen forces causing that black person's demise, that might be the end result, because that's what happens. And right now, it seems that many individuals are just being targeted randomly because they represent something other than individuals who lack high concentrations of melanation. It's getting hot outside. Though technically we're in winter, it's a hot winter, it looks like. The electrons are becoming excited, and they're bouncing all over the place. Randomized motion, producing cancer-causing radiation. How do we build a field of containment around the radiation, protecting ourselves from exposure? Well, there are a few things. One of those things comes from 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 14 through 18. Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness? And what communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Messiah with Belial? Or what part hath he that believeth with an infidel? And what agreement hath the temple of Yahuwah with idols? For ye are the temple of the living Elohim. As Yahuwah has said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their Elohim, their mighty one, and they shall be my people. Wherefore come out from among them, and be ye separate, saith Yahuwah, and touch not the unclean thing, and I will receive you, and will be a father unto you, and you shall be my sons and daughters, saith the Elohim, the mighty one. That's Yahuwah. But please understand that times are really interesting right now. It looks like homelessness is on the rise, along with unemployment, based on what's being reported, but also based on just what I'm seeing out here. It looks like what we call mental illness is perhaps on the rise. It looks like drug usage and extreme alcoholism is possibly on the rise. It looks like waywardness is on the rise, because the cancer is spreading, and it doesn't appear that enough people are seeking the solution that would create the barrier between themselves and the cancer. But we have to protect ourselves from the cancer, because it's getting serious, and the only treatment to cure us, to protect us, is the Most High.